banded together under the leadership of one man. Driven by his desire for order and power. A ruthless army that conquered territories all across the Mojave Desert and enslaved those who despised against his army. This is the story of the Caesar's Legion and their rise to the Mojave Desert. Before we could get to the Caesar's Legion, we have to go back and talk about the early years of two very important settlers by the names of Edward Sallow and Joshua Graham. These two were former members from the Followers of the Apocalypse, a group dedicated for preserving knowledge and providing aid to the wasteland survivors. In the year 2246, Edward and Joshua led a group of followers and traveled through the wasteland in the Mojave Desert. Their mission was to travel to the Grand Canyon and study the lives and cultures of all the tribes along the wasteland. Along their journeys, Edward had a fascination to learn about the historical events before the pre-war, studying historical figures, and had a fascination to human psychology from a tribal scenario. As they traveled further to the east, they encountered a tribe known as the Blackfoot. Sallow and all of his men were then captured and enslaved by this tribe. During his enslavement, Sallow would closely study the tribe by how they communicate and by how they hunt. He would then learn that they were not a well-organized tribe. And despite all the strength in numbers, they lacked one thing every tribe needs: leadership, to turn them into a smarter and stronger group. He saw an opportunity to create a powerful empire of his own. From all of his knowledge from reading historical events and studying the lives of previous tribes and cultures, Sallow had the opportunity to train and guide the tribe to victory. With his high charisma and his persuasion to talk himself out of any situation, Edward learned during their negotiations that the Blackfoot tribe had already had previous problems with other native tribes along the Mojave Desert. At this time, the tribe was going to war against 7 other tribes and suffered from the lack of skill in warfare. Edward then instructed his captors in the arts of war, giving them knowledge in gun maintenance and small unit tactics, drawing largely from what he has read about the military tactics of ancient Rome. Under his guidance, the Blackfoots not only defeated but slaughtered the neighboring tribes and came to regard Sallow as their new leader. The newly formed legion had been born. With Sallow's fascination of the early Roman Empire, he took upon himself to be renamed Caesar, from his aspirations and influences of Julius Caesar, who led the Roman Empire. Caesar declared Graham to be his second in command, giving him his newly formed name, Malpius Legate. He had become the commander in training the forces and leading them into battle. His menace and brutality were infamous. The atrocities he committed made him feared by friends and foe alike. He was dangerous, unpredictable, for being nearly untouchable against the enemy foe. And for nearly 30 years, he had helped Caesar conquer the tribes of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. Eventually, the Legion expanded west into the Mojave and established a base of operations on Fortification Hill overlooking Lake Mead and the Colorado River. Caesar's Legion grew stronger and was fearless against any enemy who dare stood up against them. Caesar's obsession with uniting the wasteland under the banner of his legion resulted in attacking anyone who vowed against him. And any tribe that would dare attempt to defeat the legion would result in a massacre or enslavement, with captured individuals being forced into servitude. Meanwhile, other survivors weren't so lucky. The Legion practiced sacrificial rituals, burning bodies alive while being strapped to a cross. Caesar's Legion became notorious around the Mojave Desert, conquering 87 tribes across the wasteland and expanding its territory across the Colorado River. It was safe to say that the Legion was the most dominant faction at its time. That was, of course, until they met their challenge, because traveling from the west was a new patriotic revolution, a new set of guns and arms in town. That revolution was the new California Republic. Be sure to drop a like right down below if you're enjoying today's episode, and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy Fallout lore and content. Now, let's get back to the Caesar's Legion. In the year 2271, the Legion's presence was a bit of a nuisance for the Ranger Unification Treaty, in which the Desert Rangers were absorbed into the new California Republic Rangers. In return, the NCR took on the burden of protecting the Hoover Dam and New Vegas. The Legion and the NCR eventually made contact just on the outskirts of New Vegas and began a campaign to take the region with the 87 tribes that they have taken over. The Legion marched against the forces of the new California Republic and led an attack on the NCR garrison located at the Hoover Dam. This day became known as the First Battle of Hoover Dam. During this time, the NCR and the Rangers were under the command of Chief Hanlon. Their first plan of attack was executing a tactical retreat just west of Boulder City. Under the command of Malpais, he ordered the Legion forces to push forward in pursuit of the enemy sharpshooters. He realized too late that the NCR set booby traps in the location that the Legion was heading into. The NCR had laid explosives all over Boulder City and waited for the Legion to walk right into their traps before detonating the explosions, causing a massive amount of casualties lost during this battle. Shortly after, the remaining survivors were finished off by the NCR recon team. This was a successful victory for the NCR, for it had now pushed back the Legion away from the Hoover Dam. Caesar, angered by Legate's failures, made an example out of him by burning him alive and casting him down the depths of the Grand Canyon. This day has been referred to as the Burned Man. However, there is a rumor that Joshua Graham survived his demise and still walks along the wasteland with bandages covering his entire body from his burn marks. By the year 2281, Caesar's Legion had re-established some power. They rebuilt their army and slowly prowled their way back into New Vegas. They continued to contest the NCR in the Mojave region. Just when the NCR thought the battle was done, the Legion will still continue fighting on to seek revenge. In conclusion, the Caesar's Legion was a formidable force in the wasteland. However, their rigid ideology and their dependence on one leader ultimately led them to their downfall. Despite their defeat at the Hoover Dam, remnants of Caesar's Legion are still scattered around across the Mojave Desert. As players explore this world, they can learn from the legacy of Caesar's Legion and consider the consequences of blind devotion. And that concludes the rise of Caesar's Legion. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy Fallout content and storytelling. In fact, check out that video below about the new California Republic. And I just want to say thank you all so much for watching this video. Hope to see you all in the next one, but until then, have a great one.